Hello and welcome to Journeys and Journals. Our journey today is going to go way back in history, but not necessarily because of my guest, but because of his collection, his memorabilia. And I'd like you to meet him. You are?
Don Bird.
Don Bird. And why this interest in history?
I don't know. I just started collecting antiques many years ago, and mostly of Josephine County stuff, and it's excellent to have. The people really enjoy seeing it.
Well, where can I tell these folks to come and look at it?
At 103 Northeast D at the OK Barbershop.
That's the secret. OK Barbershop is really a mini museum of boy toys, wouldn't you say?
Boy toys mostly. Some ladies stuff. A lot of button hooks.
Oh, okay. But mostly it's this kind of thing.
Lots of stuff like that. That is an old cribbage board that was found by one of the customers, Gerald Barrowcliff of Grants Pass. It was a homemade cribbage board, and he found it in an abandoned cabin in 1961 in the town site of Lake County, Oregon, wherever that would be. I can't remember if it was a town site. They never did finish the town.
Uh-huh.
But it was homemade, and you can see where they did it with nails, and it was pretty crooked. But I've often wondered if I'd love to know the guys that sat there and played with it.
Yeah, I think this is, yeah, it is crooked, and they aren't all the same size.
They're not the same size. It was just homemade.
Don't you wish you knew what the pegs were?
Yes.
I mean, this.
And the fella had his name on there, Martin.
My family name.
Mm-hmm.
Or is that his? Oh, yeah. Yeah, but he didn't do so well at engraving as
No,
he
he
did
didn't.
in hole punching. You brought several things that we just will talk about, but I was fascinated by one genuine, authentic bill of lading's the wrong word. What do you call this?
It would just be the receipt, I guess, for whoever paid the bill at the hospital.
Why don't you read this to us?
It's,
It is so funny.
It was from a friend of mine who passed away, and it was his mother, and evidently she'd had operating room and delivery room. Evidently she had a child, but it was $5.50 a day, per day. The total charges was $28.90. Anesthesia was $11, and $10 for the operating room.
I can almost see that dripping the chloroform
Yes.
in for that.
And that was August 22nd of 46. You can't find those prices at the hospital nowadays.
No, and so my bill probably was less than that because I'm born in 38, same hospital.
Same hospital, yes.
Oh my goodness, this is priceless. And people just bring their...
Yeah, a lot of people just bring in, give me things.
Well, I brought along my Studebakers just in case, but
I saw that. That's cute.
isn't that a gorgeous car? But this is what really you've seen all over Southern Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
Carrying hops, hay, people.
Going to the fields.
Yeah, yep. It just anything and everything. Gladiolas. I have a picture of the Gladiola Princess by that was for John Bastian. Do you remember John?
John Bastian, no.
Had the best gladiola fields. He and Mr. Turk, they raised...
Henry Turk had it. And
they all grew, not for the flowers, but they grew them for the
bulbs. Sure. Mm-hmm.
Big business here in our area.
I think Henry still grows a few.
I'd sure like... You know Henry?
Yes.
Oh.
Cut his hair for a long time.
Oh, I wish you'd talk him into being my guest.
Oh, I think he would.
Well, speaking of hair, let's check you out, huh? Under that hat is...
It's pretty slick.
A barber's dream, isn't it?
Easy to take care of.
And you take Dennis, you cut Dennis's hair.
Yes, Dennis.
And a number of other people who've been around Better Life Television.
Yes,
It's an interesting place, and women are welcome there, but you said there's no barber schools anymore?
No, not really. It's a dying profession.
It's not that men don't want their hair cut.
It's just a lot of guys go to Supercuts and...
Where do those hair cutters learn to be barbers?
Well, like at Supercuts, those are kids that just got out of school.
So
they make an hourly wage. They don't get paid for the haircut.
Now, did you go to barber school?
Oh, yes.
Was that your first profession, or?
No, I was in the restaurant and business for about 30 years.
Running a restaurant?
Restaurant and bars.
And you said, enough?
I said enough. It's time to change the profession, and I went to barber school and been doing it for about 27, 28 years now.
Second career. You're not a real young fella.
No, I'm 69.
Pushing 70.
Pushing 70.
Plan to keep cutting hair?
Plan to keep cutting hair.
Now, of course, as you recognize, some of our chemo takes 3, 4, 5 hours.
Some of it, yeah.
And you don't run the shop alone because you're spending time up at the hospital.
Right, yeah. I have a gentleman, Bill Palmer. Bill's been around the valley since about 40s something. He came here when he was about 6 months old, and he's been here with me for about 11 years now.
Young kid.
Young kid.
And he runs the store?
He does an excellent job, yeah.
Oh, when I went in, I met Bill this last week, and I said, excuse me, but I'm looking for this guy. Where could I find him? He said, oh, he's out doing house calls. What's that story about?
Well, I got a lot of customers that are 80s and 90s, and they can't make it anymore, so if they come to you for years, you got to go to them. You can't let them down.
How about that for real service?
Yeah.
Man, I'm glad to know that.
Got to take care of them.
What about shaves? And I mean, is that
Shaves
something?
are a kind of thing of the past, mainly because it takes so long.
I mean, you see the movies, the brush.
The riser, yeah.
Yeah, whatever that's.
We still shave around the ears, sideburns, but we don't do full facial shaves. Takes too long.
You know what I loved? When my dad would take that mug, you call it?
The old mug root beer.
Shave mug.
Yeah.
And he'd run that around, and then he'd boop us on the nose. We thought that was so much fun.
Yeah.
And my kids did too. It was, play for us. Yeah. He was doing his thing.
But we still I have a lot of brushes and shaving mugs and...
In the museum?
Yeah, in the museum. It's loaded with stuff, yes,
And arrowheads, what's that?
I just got a few arrowheads that come from around the valley. And that was about it. Most of that stuff was given to me.
And this didn't come from around the valley, but
No.
it is a work of art.
Yeah, that's a cobra cane, and it's all carved out of one piece of wood. And I imagine it was probably done, I would say, in India because of the cobras, but whoever did it just did a superb job.
Well, canes are just another one of your interests.
Yes, I have several different kinds of canes.
But none like this one.
Yeah, this one's well over 100 years old, and it's one piece of wood, and somebody really put their heart into it. And they put like brass and copper and nailed it all in, and then finished off the ends so they wouldn't split. Everything was capped off on it, and it's probably about 120 years old.
And heavy.
That came from the Rogue Valley.
Which, this would hardly hold up a ballerina.
Right, yeah. That's very dainty. That'd be more like a walking stick, probably.
Yeah, to show off your fancy artwork.
But this one here would definitely hold you up.
Have you ever weighed it?
No, no. It's got a lot of metal on it.
That's how to take pine or fir or something and make it sturdy. I don't think this is a soft wood.
It's all metal. No, it isn't.
Because I kind of pushed my
But
nail
somebody
in.
sure put their heart into it. It was
It seems to be lashed on with leather.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, you can kind of see. Oh, what a work of
Whoever
art.
carved it did a pretty good job.
So some of your things are fine or arty, or some of them are a little bit humble.
Yes, they
like the
are.
crib board.
Yes.
You say some of your customers come in and say, hey, I'd like you to have this.
Oh, yeah. I get spurs and guns and just things that people don't want no more, and say, you know, my kids don't want it. And if it's something very nice, then I have a case made for it.
A case.
It's like that there.
Oh.
That belonged to the Hussies, who you've heard of Hussey Lane.
Yes, yes, right.
Sam Hussey was the father, and he moved here in 1877. And he bought these shell reloaders, and they're .38-55 calibers, in 1897 at a sporting goods store in Grants Pass. And his name was Arthur Sam Hussey. And he had two sons, Carol Hussey and Phil Hussey. And these were given to me by Phil Hussey, who passed away here 3 or 4 years ago in Central Point at the age of 96, 97, something like that.
And he'd gotten his hair cut more than once by you.
Oh, yes, he was in there for years, yeah.
What a chance, because sitting there for what, 25 minutes or 20 minutes?
20 minutes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You talk about a lot of things, don't
Learn
you?
a lot about the valley, and a lot of, when you get somebody in that's up in age and been here for many years, you learn a lot.
Tell me a couple of stories.
Oh, wow. You know, I hear stories from like Charlie Morrison. There's somebody you ought to get on the show.
Would you help me get him on the show?
Sure, Charlie would do it.
I've asked him.
He's pretty good.
I've asked him, but he didn't think that it was a real great idea. He bicycled or hitchhiked or something?
Hitchhikes, yes. Charlie has a habit of, especially when they have the big auction jamboree, and he usually hitchhikes. And it
Across
drives
the
his kids nuts, but he does it anyway. And then sometimes he gets bad weather, he'll turn around and come home. He told me a story one time. He got picked up by a young guy in a pickup truck, and he had 3 or 4 kids, and when he got out, why, he just laid a $100 bill on the seat for the guy and said, "Take your family to dinner," you know.
Oh, I love that kind of
But
story.
that's Charlie for you, yeah.
I'm going to wave the flag because it's just one of my favorite things. And you've got
Yes, it is.
history here.
Yes, I do, a lot of it, yeah.
48 stars.
Yes, yeah.
Where was it? What did you do? What can you tell us about
About
being part of the crew that won the war?
Well, it's great. I was in the Korean War, the last end of it, winning in 53 to 57, and I don't know. War is a bad thing.
War's a bad thing.
It's a bad thing. We lose lots of people. It's unnecessary, but again, it's probably like having cancer and going through sickness. If nobody ever got sick and died, we never had any wars, we'd have too many people.
Well, maybe that's true, but we sure have lost a lot of our best.
Yes, we have.
But cancer, tell me about it.
Well, I was diagnosed with 3 cancers in '95, and I gain a new one about every year and a half. I'm up to 7. And so the last one being the liver. I've had 2 foot of colon taken out, half a left lung,
Oh,
chemo 3 times, radiation twice. But thank the Lord, I'm still here.
cutting hair.
He does miracles for me. Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful? Yeah, I see his face, and I recognize that I too can have this victorious smile, even when things are going different.
You always have a nice smile.
Thank you. Yesterday was a tough day in there.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
And he was asleep in the chair, and I wished I had been too.
Well, I was just wondering if it was you snoring instead of me, but they said it was me.
I was listening to you. And he woke up and said, I never snore.
Well, that's what my wife usually tells me, that I never snore, so I believed her.
You married for how many years?
27.
New kids.
Yes.
But happy
Yes.
to have you here. Pretty fancy ring you're showing there.
Oh, thank you.
Just another bit of history,
Old ring, yes.
isn't that? Rubies
Yes.
are my birthstone.
Birthstone,
I want to hear about somebody besides Charlie Morrison that we can talk about here who won't care if you tell a secret about his gray hair. I mean, you don't do
boy.
colors, do you?
No.
Never?
No. That's beauty shop.
So if you want to do
we're strictly barbershop, you know. We don't even touch up
not even
mustaches. You can buy a wax, you know. There's people that come in, I'll order waxes for them.
this sort of
They can do the
thing?
handlebar. There's not too many of them anymore. There's a few, but not many.
Captain Mondstadt
Yes.
had one. Did you know him?
No.
Oh, somebody on TV will know him, and how I can get in touch with his daughter Penny, who's moved out of the area. He had a mustache that just seemed to go farther than the ears. I know.
Yes. We have one gentleman that comes in that's got one that it stretches out to about the side of his cheeks. But
Does he curl it?
yeah, a little bit on the ends he curls it, you know. But he waxes it. And
Oh man, that takes years to grow, doesn't it?
yes, long time. Long time.
Well, without, you got to have some favorite stories. Do you look forward to certain customers coming in? And,
Oh yeah, we've had customers been coming in for 3 generations.
oh, really? Do they come in together?
I got
Grandpa
one
and-
gentleman that comes in that graduated from Grants Pass High School in 1934, and he was coming into the OK Barbershop, and he said the reason he was coming in is that his uncle, or his aunt had married the barber, and the guy's name was Williams, but we don't know who owned the shop then.
Oh, so you don't know the history of OK Barbershop?
Well, I know who the last 3 were.
Okay,
Gordon Burns, who owned the shop for almost 40 years,
okay.
passed away 3 years ago. And then he bought it from Pete Peterson. And then before that was Al Zastro. And he didn't make it in the phone book until 1949. He wasn't in the 48 book. So I don't know if he lived out of town or in town.
Or just didn't have a phone.
Or just didn't have a phone, but he made it into the 49 book. And he was from Germany. Past him, I don't know who owns it.
Now,
But it goes back before 1910.
do any of your customers come and spin yarn about the German barbershop?
No.
Because German people really were, I mean, there were the Schmidts, and there were the Kimleins, who had the brewery, and the Schmidts had Schmidt's Grocery, and there was quite a conclave. Turns out that the German people who've just moved here with Mozart's restaurant, they fell in love with this valley. They are now over in the Gold Hill area, right on the banks of the road, and there again, it reminds them of Germany and the kind of places that are out in the country where you just stop by and friends gather. They hope to even have a dock there to bring your boat up.
Yes,
And so, you know, Germany and the history that all ties us in together, I don't know that that's what brought my family here, but the mountains have certainly always been,
Yes.
I call it the hollow of God's hand, the whole Rogue Valley.
Yes, uh-huh.
You know, you start out of Ashland and it changes. So
Was your family from Germany?
mother's family, the Westfalls.
The Westfalls. Mm-hmm.
Gotta be.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, you've got stories about your family that I'd love to hear.
Well, my family is my wife's family. My father-in-law is still here and alive, and he moved here in the early 30s.
His name is?
Hembry, Jim Hembry. And his father was a ditch walker, Jerome Prairie.
What do ditch walkers do?
Just walk the irrigation ditches, make sure they was open, wasn't a lot of debris in them. And
Very important job.
this was out in back of the college on Midway, but Midway wasn't in then.
Okay.
And when they moved here, they swapped their big truck for
What was their big truck all about?
That's what they moved out. 6 of them moved out in Oklahoma when they came out in the early 30s.
Can't you just imagine?
It looked like Granny sitting in the rocking chair in the Clantons. He was a ditch walker, and they were going to sell him 20 acres. And he says, I don't have money to buy 20 acres. They said, well, we'll give you, we'll take 50 cents a month out of your check. Well, after 6 months, he went to him and said, you're going to have to take the land back. I can't afford it. So they gave him 10 acres for the 6 months at 50 cents a month. So $3, he got 10 acres, which is on Midway's frontage now. Then after the war, my father-in-law bought it from his father and built homes on it.
Well, now, what did he first? What did he swap for this truck, which was?
He got a year's rent on the old homestead, a cow, and a dozen chickens.
You know, I kind of think the guy that was moving out didn't want to move the cow.
Yeah. The old home on Laurel Avenue is still there.
It is.
Mm-hmm. It's still there.
And there was swapping and trading was part of life.
Mm-hmm. And then his dad opened up the Jerome Prairie meat lockers out there in the store.
Oh, very important, because freezers just didn't exist.
Nope.
In fact, ice boxes, I remember, were still being in use, and there'd be a sign in the window
Mm-hmm. Yes.
that you wanted ice today.
Right. Yes.
I mean, that's in the 1940s, mid-40s.
The guy'd carry it in. You'd clean stuff out of your refrigerator. And you'd stick that block ice in there. And
Okay.
always chip me off a hunk.
And he'd carry it with those
Yeah.
ice tongs.
Yeah.
Do you have any ice tongs?
Yes,
in
I do. I have 3 or 4 several sets.
Drop by and see ice tongs.
Yeah.
I mean, the kids will never believe that ice ever came that big.
Yeah. Some of them was huge. People make them now, and they use them, put them in their kitchen for a paper towel holder.
Ah,
You know,
that'd
those-
work.
Yeah, it's been on there. Just keeping a little old nostalgia around.
Tease them with a little bit of what else they can see in
Right,
that
yeah.
museum. What about those horns?
Oh, I got lots of elk heads and deer heads and.
In fact, did you wear that fancy belt today?
No, I didn't. No,
Oh, a carved,
elk horn.
as big as this.
Yes, it's huge.
What other things? What are your favorites? What's gotten you so excited when it walked in the door?
Oh, I collect so many things. I have a nice collection of watch fobs from Wyoming ranchers, Pendleton Roundup, and you have to kind of watch because a lot of stuff's been duplicated, as everything has been nowadays.
Yeah, genuine imitation.
Genuine imitation, right? So you really have to know what you're looking for to get it. But I have so many things in there that you just have to drop by and take a peek. I have Channel 12 did me for their 6 o'clock news. A lot of write-ups in the paper. I get a lot of teachers that bring kids in, and she'll have them pick out an item and then do an essay on it for school, and it comes out pretty nice. If I didn't have the shop, I wouldn't have any of this stuff. If I couldn't share it with everybody, you know.
Well,
You can't take it home and hide it under the bed so somebody don't take it. So if I didn't have the shop, I wouldn't have it. Most of it would probably go to the museums.
But you got your own little museum there, so don't hesitate to take out-of-town guests. You just heard school kids are welcome. And
I have lots of people come through every day just to look. I have old phone books that they'll come by and look up their grandparents' phone number and address. And
411, I think, was our phone number, but I'm going to come by and check.
it's in the book. I've looked it up.
Oh, you have?
Yes, mm-hmm.
Well, no, we had one ring for the shop, Martin Studebaker that was, and then a ring that would come to the house, and it was on sort of the same line after the shop closed, because Father'd go out and help people, you know, if they had car trouble.
Sure.
In fact, I remember a family of color, and they had car trouble. None of this area was very friendly to people of color, and their Studebaker station wagon, Conestoga wagon, had broken down. It was towed in, and he said to me, he said, "Sis, there's some people that won't have supper unless we take some." And so we went to the grocery store, and he bought bags of groceries. That was my dad. And we went to the Bridge Motel, which was the very finest place in town. And he'd been able to find accommodations. And you know, it marked me. It really made a difference.
Yes, it did.
So it's just wonderful what parents and grandparents can give to their kids. You got 1 minute to tell a laugh story.
It's nice to help people.
You heard him.
Make them feel good. I think you and I are going to do good through our ordeal, too. We got the Lord on our side. We can't lose.
Thank you so much for being my guest.
Thank you for having me again, Bernie. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, he's back again.
Yes.
When this was a little studio.
Yes. We're going to see if we can't get Henry Turk and Morrison up here.
Oh, I'd sure appreciate that.
Get them both at the same time.
Wouldn't that be fun? We'll do a full hour. 2 shows.
Yeah.
This is the way I find my guests, and if you know somebody you'd like me to interview, contact Better Life Television. I'm Bernie Martin Beck saying thanks for tuning in and swapping history with me.
Thank you very much for having me.